Welcome to the Project, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And this week we watched the finale of Project Blue
Earth SOS. We did. I can't remember when we did the.
I think it was in February at some point. It was quite a while ago that we watched.
Yeah, we've spread them out, but I did when I looked this one up to find like the episode and title and stuff. When they were released, they released like one per month for 6 months, so they were pretty spread out.
So we've almost done it justice in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we did the last one in January.
Yeah.
Oh, it was released in February. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions going into this one, and we might have some of the answers to it. Which
I can't remember what the questions are. So.
We will talk about. Before we get to that, we have time codes in the episode description. So if you want to skip straight to our talk about the Project Blue Earth SOS finale, you can do so. We've also got personal projects where I'm sure we both watched or done some very interesting stuff that you can hear about.
Maybe.
But how are you today, Lewis?
Yeah, not bad. The weather's been nice. I'm going on holiday this weekend, so it's just kind of like, when your mind's kind of already there, it's like you finish off your work bits, but back in your head, you're like, I've only got 2 more days and I'm off for like a week. So, yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right as well. Yeah, not too bad. Just been getting on with work and, doing a bit of pod stuff in between as you have as well. But yeah, not really much to talk about up front. So I'm quite happy to go into that first juicy old segmente.
Excellent. Project news. I'm usually so ready for that.
Yeah, I wasn't at all padding for time there with that pronunciation of the words.
Sorting up my headphones that got all tangled up. I've got just the one bit of Project News.
What is Project News, Lewis?
So I Google the word project and I see what news comes up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I always forget every time, so I'm glad you normally.
It's because you never pay attention, Sam.
I know.
But yeah, there wasn't much this week, and I've kind of seen articles like this come up quite a lot. So I thought, let's do this one, and we can go through
it. Bottom of the barrel is what you're saying.
It's almost the opposite.
Oh,
it's from GQ, and it's every upcoming Marvel project from Thunderbolts to Fantastic Four.
Fantastic.
So I thought, let's go through the list and see which ones we're looking forward to and which ones we are perhaps kind of forgot about, or maybe Marvel have forgotten about. So the confirmed film, The Marvels, is coming up in July. Obviously, follow on from the series.
I thought it had moved.
It says on here 28th of July. Maybe it's moved
since.
It
might have moved since then, but that's fine.
So obviously,
it is the next film. I'm pretty sure. Though,
yeah. Follow on from the series and the Captain Marvel film.
Yes.
I think
trailer's out. I didn't watch the trailer, so I'm excited. I think the reactions were pretty good. It seems like a spacey kind of spacey-basedy thing, so that's
nice.
Always good. Be nice to see like that side of it, because with Captain Marvel 1 there was like bits and pieces of space, but
I'm quite intrigued to see Kamala Khan in a film as well, because obviously she had the series, but that's very much its own thing on Disney Plus.
And she seems very capable of kind of bouncing off other characters and that sort of thing, other actors. So
I mean, some people complained about Captain Marvel. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty standard for Marvel films at the time.
Yeah, it was.
I think it had the same criticism as other films, but for some unknown reasons, it got a lot more hate.
Yeah, and Brie Larson became the target of every insecure man on the internet for the next 5 years and to beyond. But
looking forward to that upcoming TV. We've got Secret Invasion.
Yes,
coming up very soon.
June it is. June. I think it's 21st or something like that. So
21st of June.
Yeah, see, I do remember some things.
I think that's going to be one. I haven't read anything about it, but I think people have been talking about this for years, about who's going to be revealed to have been a Skrull this entire time.
Well, I saw they did some teaser posters and stuff recently, and they did I think they did a new trailer that came out, and I watched the opening, and it kind of goes like, who out of all the people that you love and trust may have been someone, maybe they weren't human. That's the kind of,
I've seen some people,
so they are there's gonna be someone.
I've seen some people speculating about it. I don't want to watch this video because I want to go into it blind. I want the reveal to be a shock to me.
I can't remember who. I know Nick Fury's in it. I know
Ben Mendelsohn's
back as Mr. Skrull himself. Talos. I do know who Emilia Clarke is, but I don't know if that's been revealed, so I'm not going to say that.
Didn't know she was in it. I mean, that's I've just said all the information I know about it.
Well, I won't say too much else. I know that another human, I think most kind of shieldy type people are going to pop up at some point. So I think Maria Hill's probably in it.
Are you telling me Phil Coulson's back again?
Well, that'll be a fucking great way of doing it.
That would actually, just like
the version that was killed was a Skrull, so he's still there. He's in the locker in space.
I guess that would make Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. completely.
I mean, I think it's already in its own universe. But
we've also got Loki season 2 coming in October.
There's some interesting stuff about that recently, because apparently a trailer was released for, like, I don't know, either industry or investors or whatever. And one Jonathan Majors was very notably absent from that trailer because, as many people know, he was arrested, and I don't know if he was charged, but he was. There was lots of accusations which seemed to be very well founded to do with spousal abuse and that sort of thing. And but the post credits for Quantumania was a direct thing of Kang is in Loki too, so I don't know how they're going to go around that. We'll see, won't we?
Well, DC are going ahead with The Flash and pretending that Ezra Miller's not been doing their thing for the last couple of years. We've also got Echo coming up in November.
Another interesting thing about that, it's being released all in one go rather than weekly.
Really? I feel like...
which maybe doesn't show much faith in that.
I feel like they've kind of... They're not putting much hope in this.
No. Well, I was getting confused because it's Bob Chapek and Bob Iger. Bob Iger, who were the two heads of Disney, and one's retaken over. I think it's Iger's.
Yeah.
Iger was doing it for a while. Chapek did it for a bit, then Iger's back. He's kind of said, like, we're going to cut down on all the streaming stuff because it wasn't making enough money, even though he was the guy who set up Disney Plus and set it all in motion. So I feel like they're kind of slowly cutting things down.
They have been doing a lot, maybe too much.
Yeah,
so.
we need to want Marvel stuff. We don't want to finish it and be like, oh, the next thing's there. I know that's what the comics are like, and it could get that way, but comics are cheap and films aren't, and it's like...
Yeah, and there's less of like an obligation with comics.
Yeah.
So we've also got... So that's one's got specific dates. We've got announced What If Season 2.
Oh, cool,
It says spring 2023, which is now, and it's...
I mean, they might be able to get it in summer after Secret Invasion.
Yeah, maybe. That should be fun. I think the first series was a bit hit and miss, but... I think with that sort of series, it's always going to be. So I think there's still lots of fun ideas they could do there. So
I think that'll be good. The only thing I've seen is I think they announced they were doing a new original superhero for that. It'll be like What If. I think it's What If a Native American First Nations person got the Power Stone or something like that. So it's
like Prey.
I guess so. Yeah.
There's also, I forgot about this, autumn 2023 X-Men 97.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that as well.
Which is a non-MCU.
Wait,
release.
autumn?
Autumn, apparently.
Ooh.
Might be pushed back a bit, but a non-MCU thing of let's do the...
I think it's supposed to be continuing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I watched an episode recently because I was like, oh yeah, I did watch a load when Disney Plus first popped them up. I didn't get very far. I think I watched maybe a season or half a season, so I'll carry that on before then.
It is good, and I'm kind of intrigued about things like art style and stuff. Will it be the same? Will it look dated, or I don't know?
Yeah, because it could be easy for it to look like a kind of Flash animation, even like Archer style kind of stilted thing. But yeah, I'm sure they'll do something good.
Ironheart getting a series apparently later this year, probably next year.
I've seen the character in Team Ups and she's fine, but I'm not impressed by what I've seen of her in the MCU so far.
Yeah, well, we didn't really get anything worthwhile.
Well, suddenly she just had a suit and it was like, okay, cool. I guess we haven't seen Iron Man for a bit. This is okay. And then they were like, by the way, you can't take this suit away, so you have to go and build a new one. Well, don't give her
And she just seemed really kind of out of place in that film.
It was bizarre.
It took me a second. Then it was like, it was Black Panther.
It was Black Panther,
wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
forever.
She could have been in any of those films.
It was only like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
a little bit longer than that. But
there's also Blade is meant to be coming out later this year. That I don't think it's going to happen this year.
No. I think it was originally originally, scheduled for like a Halloween thing.
Yeah,
I could
seems
see
like
it going another year back.
well, it felt like 20 years ago that Mahershala Ali was cast as Blade.
Yeah, I mean it's getting there, isn't it? No, but they announced Mia Goth. I think I mentioned on pod before, who's been in various films recently.
Yeah.
I don't know who she's playing. Probably vampire or something. You know?
Yeah. Next year, Daredevil Born Again, which very much looking forward to.
Although the writer strikes have put a damper on that, and that is one of the announced productions that stopped. We haven't talked about the writer strikes much.
Yeah,
but
I would prefer them to wait a year and do it properly than force out something half-assed.
From what I've heard about the writer strikes compared to the 2007 ones or whatever it was, I think public awareness is much stronger about the impact it will have, and the fact that they're just wanting a living wage, basically. It's like it's pretty basic stuff. We've seen similar stuff in the UK with other industries, but hopefully it gets solved quicker than it did last time.
Captain America New World Order.
Yes,
it'll be fun.
That's filming at the moment, actually. So that one,
it says May 2024. Yeah, so that makes
hopefully
sense.
Won't be. It's. I know that some productions, because they have writing staff on set, they're getting halted, but some aren't. I don't know how it works, but maybe that won't be off as well. But yeah, I think there was some set photos of new costumes and stuff, so that's out there if people want to look at it.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun seeing Sam Wilson as Captain America. Yeah. I hope it doesn't just retread a lot of the Falcon Winter Soldier stuff of like, am I Captain America? Oh, would I be good as Captain America?
I think that they'll hopefully take the lesson of just be like, it's me. Like, it's no one's going to even question it, kind of thing. Maybe have a character at the start be like, whatever, and he's just like, fuck off. Kind of
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't know anything about that film at all?
No.
Then? Okay. From what I've heard, it's going to involve it's going to be a bit of a mini team up kind of thing. So I think it will be, has potential to be quite
presume
fun.
Bucky will be back for it. So
potentially, yeah.
Thunderbolts next year as well.
Which Bucky is it in, actually? He's one of the lineup on the poster.
The poster's here actually.
Yeah. Which is the poster where pretty much everyone has the same power set.
Yeah.
They're all just super soldiers with different outfits on.
Yeah, it's a weird group of people, I have to say.
I was so expecting when we were watching She-Hulk, I was like, those people that Abomination's off working with, it's definitely going to turn out to be Thunderbolts.
No, that was optimistic.
Yeah, I was expecting them to release another poster where another concept where he's standing behind them.
Fantastic Four 2025.
Yeah,
looking forward to that. I'm intrigued to see who they cast.
I think that was due for 2024 at one point, because they were like, right, 4 we can do a little thing with the logo, and maybe they'll release it in April instead.
Apparently it's 15th of February 2025, so
February.
They're not going with any of those 4s.
I don't know if that's a good time to release a film.
Yeah, and then we get May 2025 Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, and I was like, oh yeah, remember when this was announced? I was like, oh yeah, cool. Part of me thinks they're doing this a bit too early,
going straight into another one.
Yeah, because I feel like
if that's all there is in between, which I mean, there's not enough time really to do anything else.
Yeah, because like Thanos was like building up for like a decade really before Infinity War.
And is Secret Wars, I mean, you'll say in a moment, is that very soon after?
Yeah, so that's November later, that's 6 months
the same
after.
Year.
Yeah.
So it's... What?
It's going to be...
Because that's the thing, because even Infinity War and
Endgame like
had
2 years.
No, 1 year with 2 films in between.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think this is going to happen like this.
Well, I've seen lots of speculation that obviously there's stuff about recasting Kang and stuff, which is entirely possible because of, multiversal variants and all that. But people have been kind of implying that this would be a good chance to bring in like the Beyonder or something for Secret Wars, like do or even if they could do the new Secret Wars with Doctor Doom and God Doom or whatever, and they can still do Kang, but then like kind of divert away, use him as like an intro point for Kang stuff gets sorted, and then new guy comes in.
Yeah,
but even so, 6 months or so is. Oof.
Yeah, it seems like it would just be like a 2-part.
Because then what the fuck do you do after that? Like,
yeah, it just feels like I think because we had Kang in Loki, and then we spent ages kind of waiting for him to reappear, and then he did in Quantumania, but like. I feel like we haven't had enough setup.
And we still don't know like which Kang, and it's like it's a bit too.
And looking at those films, like between now and then. Like, there's not loads of opportunity for him
Which
to like.
basically means that, like, unless in New World Order there's like a new Avengers team in that, which could well be.
Yeah.
Like, we've got no real, like, it's just gonna be like Endgame again with everyone. Like, no one, do you know what I mean? Everyone's just gonna show up again, plus
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman and all that. Like, they're gonna do it, aren't they? Like, it's just
Yeah, well, plus the Fantastic Four, I guess.
Yeah. I've also heard that fucking Jim Krasinski,
John Krasinski.
apparently he's pegged for it, and I'm like, no, like, I don't think that's true still, because like,
yeah, I reckon that's just kind of like throwing people off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we went through that list like last year or so when it was all announced.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
obviously things have changed in the last year, and it's interesting revisiting it
I do
after
think
another year.
Yeah, I think some of those will definitely be pushed back 6 months or so, especially with the writers'
It
strike.
seems like what when we kind of got announcements of like phase 1 and phase 2.
Yeah.
Apart from like Inhumans, because they then got Spider-Man, pretty much everything was released on schedule, as they said. Nothing was and it all kind of led up to an Avengers film. This seems a lot more like hapdash and a bit.
Yeah, I just can't.
They don't really know what they're doing as much.
I can't see, like, so that Captain America film, I can't see how that's going to be related to Kang stuff, because you want him to have his own adventure. New World Order could be Hydra coming back or whatever. The bits that I know and stuff, I'm not going to go into. Thunderbolts won't hopefully be related to Kang.
No,
seems strange if it was.
I think Fantastic
Blade isn't going to be.
Yeah, Fantastic Four would be a waste if they did.
I guess.
Kang.
I mean, they can do allusions to that because it makes sense in the kind of.
But
and maybe they'll go to the quantum realm to get their powers instead. Oh, I can't remember half the other ones he said, but yeah, I just don't see there being a path there.
Yeah, that's it.
Whereas like all the films of the past year, Fast Phase, pretty much have all been like, oh, there's a bit of dimensional stuff going on, but I just don't like. It's like they've done that, and then there's a phase without any like lead up, and then there's going to be the end one.
And it's like, yeah, there was like
maybe just all of what if Kang came into this, and then we're just really used to Kang by that point.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, that's project news for the week.
That's Proj no to the MCU for me.
Proj no to the MCU. I was gonna ask you to say Proj yes or Proj no on each of them, but
pretty much no. I am excited for them, but I'm just very skeptical about how.
Yeah,
I think individually they all sound like they've got fun potential.
It's just the overall direction.
It seems very and I think I'm probably gonna have to go into the next one with kind of a just enjoy this for what it is film.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been doing that and I've been disappointed quite a lot. Apart from Guardians, that was pretty good.
Yeah, but the 3 before that.
I think most of the ones before that.
Ant-Man, Thor, Doctor Strange, and Black Panther were all a little disappointing. Yeah.
Endgame, it took it too high, and then after it, the 3 Spider-Man jumping around and that.
I wonder if like in the future we'll see Endgame as such like a definitive point in the MCU timeline as like.
I mean, the thing is,
that's when they jump the shark.
I think there'll be a load of people that are coming back to it in the same way that you've spoken about No Way Home, of kind of like it's good, but a lot of it relies on this nostalgia. I think people will have similar arguments about this. I think it's a better made film in hindsight from those two, but yeah.
But anyway, let's get into the main topic, which is Project Blue Earth SOS. Episode 6, which is Super Weapon Sortie, Battle at Earth's Final Hour.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's kind of that, isn't it? It is a Battle at Earth's Final Hour.
Yeah.
I guess Sortie is just getting your shit together, isn't it?
And they do get a new super weapon.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
This episode is full of like bits where I was like, wait, what? I felt like it was non-stop as well.
It was, and it was non-stop. I don't think it even had the mini break in the middle. Normally there's a little fade out, and a guy says like, "Come back next week for this," and it's like, "Oh no, it's not next week." It's ad break bit. I don't think it had that like
no.
It did feel a lot like it felt like a finale. It felt like it felt longer. I don't know if it was, but I think it felt like
it was the same length. But I know what you mean.
Like it was one consistent story, whereas in the past it's been like 2 halves to every episode.
Yeah,
it is almost like it could have been 12 episodes, and this was a 2-parter at the end. Kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So It's directed by Tensai Okamura, written by Ryota Yamaguchi, starring Tensai Okamura, Mitsu Saiga, Hirohashi, and Sayaka Hara.
Yes.
If you want more details and all that stuff, go. This is the 6th time we've
Yeah,
done this.
yeah. What is it? Anime from 2006, is it?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
based on some books from, I think it was like the 60s or something like that. Or the
Yeah,
50s.
it's kind of a retro futurism.
Yeah.
It's set in like now, but
yeah, we're set in 1999 as we find out at the very end.
But like there's some bits that seem futuristic and some bits that are very
the technology is all very old fashioned, but yeah, they can do lasers in space and stuff, and
yeah.
But
yeah, and as we kind of we'll go straight into it.
Yeah.
As we alluded to at the start, it opens pretty weirdly.
Yeah. Well, we Shall I try and recap where we got to?
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah. Go on then.
Just because we've got new listeners since February.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
All the icon heads out there.
I forgot that we always did
that.
Yeah,
normally you put me on the spot, but this time I'm ready.
You put me on the spot to put you on the spot.
I was going to ask you, but I was like, no.
Thanks. So yeah. 30 seconds. What's happened in the first 5 episodes of Project Blue Earth?
Let me just wait till it gets to a bit. Okay, so there are some kids and they all meet. One's called Billy and he's like a rich prodigy, and there's Penny who's a poor prodigy, and they are friends through circumstances out of their control. Aliens attack, but then they like don't attack, and then there's like an island and they're doing like a secret invasion thing, stealing people. And then loads of stuff happens. They find out there's something called Element X. There's this guy called Robot Rick, who's not called Robot Rick, but we called him that, who's mysterious and he's running around. And there's a girl who they think is a ghost, but she's not a ghost. And then they find out that her granddad maybe cloned people and sent them off into space. And then at the end of the episode of the last time, Robot Rick steals the girl and maybe gets the secret to Element X or something, and then goes away. And then they're like, "Oh no!" And the whole time they're like, they're on this like annoying Cold War standoff with the aliens throughout like the whole season. And there's barely any action apart from these little bits. And yeah, when we start, she's just naked and she's in a bed, and there's loads of floating stuff, and there's loads of men with masks around her. And I was like, "Have I missed an episode?"
Yeah, I think. That may not have been your best summary.
It was a lot, and I actually, as prepared as I came off at the start, I was not at all.
Yeah, I mean, loads of stuff has happened whilst nothing happening.
They keep doing little mini mysteries, and it flips between being like a kind of Scooby-Doo, like kids solving a mystery, and like
to a War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yeah. And there's this guy called James who was like a fighter pilot who went missing for 5 years.
And now he can't die.
And he's got white hair, which I don't remember him having until last episode. And there's all these like secret security councils.
Yeah, so there's the Labyrinth Alliance, who are the main.
We had a good name for them last episode.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it was.
Babylon
5.
Babylon 5, maybe Babylon 5. Yeah. Babylon 5 are a secret organization who are kind of leading the fight, and they're headed by Dr. Breast.
Yes. Or Breast, as it is pronounced in some versions.
Whose daughter, Lotta Breast, is friends with Billy and Penny, the two prodigies.
And she doesn't fit that name in lots of ways, because she's very young.
She's a child. And there's also her like babysitter, Emily, who turned out to be like a spy.
And she would fit that.
Particularly in this episode.
I was like, they have redesigned this character.
Yeah. And the other major character worth mentioning is Captain Clayton, who was like James's mentor before he disappeared, and when we first introduced him, he was like aliens, and he was a bit of a loony,
like a whack job guy, and everyone's like, no, there's no aliens. Your son / lover who disappeared, he just disappeared. There's no aliens, and then it's like there are aliens.
He's kind of friends with everyone, so he's kind of been folded into Babylon 5.
Yeah, and they kind of split off in the last few episodes, and they went to this mansion, and there was this girl, and then she's involved somehow because she's the granddaughter / experiment, and Penny and Clayton were there when she got taken away.
Yeah.
And I think Billy and the other lot are all in the same place. They kind of the groups kind of split, as it were.
And this girl Margaret is the granddaughter, we're told, of Professor Steamson.
Yeah, but so at the end of the last episode, when they did the weird like look back in the past and find out what's going on thing, they did see that there was the eggs, lots of eggs, and they all opened up with all these naked girls, and they were called the Infabels.
Yeah,
which were a thing that have been. We've been seeing this like ghost hologram that looks like Margaret that keeps giving them weird messages throughout, like little riddles. And one of the things that kept being mentioned was the Infabels.
Yeah.
So there's lots of kind of bullshit
we learned from Steamson that he created this race of people and sent them off into space.
It's
to
almost
come
like
back.
An arc kind of thing, isn't it?
And and the bug one aliens that have come
although
back.
I don't know how confirmed that was at the end. I think we kind of speculated that, and then it kind of gets confirmed pretty quickly in this.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it was. That's what I was a bit confused about. I was like, did we know this, or did this just get revealed? I can't remember. I'm not going to listen back to our last episode.
No, so let's get into it. As you said, we start with a naked girl waking up in bed, and I was like, who is this? It's Margaret. I forgot that she'd been kidnapped by Robot Rick.
Yeah, me too.
And there's a bunch of weird people around wearing masks.
Yeah.
And they say they're the descendants of the Infabel.
Yes, they said they journeyed beyond the solar system.
Yeah.
And they adapted to outer space, so they look like weird.
They've like
people
mutated.
now.
They've turned into bug people. Yeah. But they say she's the original. She's the master Infabel.
Yes.
And they want to know where Element X is, and she's like, I don't know. And they're like, fine, we'll extract it from your brain.
Yeah.
And then one of them turns into like Doc Ock and has like arms come down and like grab her.
And then it goes into the intro.
I've really come around to this intro.
Oh, me too. I was like, it's not the best anime intro. Like it's not the most kind of crazy, or it's not got the best song, but it's a fun little jazzy song.
It's like a 90s sitcom intro.
But almost as well like a kind of Man from U.N.C.L.E. kind of 50s, 60s kind of little jazzy thing. It kind of comes up with all the people, and it's got their names up there and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty funky. It's pretty fun. I did like it.
So we get to Babylon 5.
Yes.
And the alien planet has turned up in the atmosphere.
It's like a big That's No Moon kind of situation.
And it's kind of like shaped like a donut.
Yeah, it's got like it looks a bit like that thing in Guardians 3, like the Augoscope or whatever. Yeah.
I think it's like the middle bit's like the engine that's propelling it or something.
Yeah.
But that appears, and they say it's 24 miles from Earth.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not very far.
No.
I feel like that would affect tides. That's closer than the moon.
Yeah.
And the moon affects our tides quite heavily.
Well, they just didn't show the bit where everything's fucking
there's
like
tsunamis everywhere
down there. And there's also a bit here where like Professor Breast or Dr. Breast and Emily are like, oh yeah, so the bog ones are the Infabels, and they were sent up there, and they just explain it all. And then Billy's just like, what the fuck, why didn't you tell us this? And they were like, well, we didn't know, we just suspected it. They said they were in like a weird space-time bit, and it's been eons for them, and we're like, okay.
They're like, Stevenson predicted that and then disappeared, so we're just kind of going off that. And I was like, okay.
And it's like, Billy is a kid, fair enough, but he's been working with you like every episode.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to track this fucking thing down the whole time, and they knew the answers. It's so annoying.
Yeah, and like whilst Dr. Bruce is explaining this, Penny's also saying the exact same thing to Clayton.
Yes, so
mansion.
That's it. So he knew, but the rest of them didn't know.
Because he's just learned it from Stevenson.
I think it was like it was kind of heavily implied that they'd come back, but we weren't 100% sure. Maybe at the end.
And they say that like the bug ones see humans as their like mortal enemies. And stuff.
They're not really sure why. It's kind of like something's got a bit wrong with the whole thing. And then the big hologram girl turns up, which we hadn't seen her. We'd seen like a weird alien guy talking to us before, but this time it's her, like the big ghosty girl.
Yeah.
And she's like, all the humans need to surrender, otherwise we'll do our ultimate weapon, which is a planetary bomb.
Yeah.
And it's like
okay.
Did she give them a time limit, like 24 hours or something?
Yeah, it's something like that. It's 24 hours to surrender, or we will blow you up, basically.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, ready the Invincible. We're going to go fight them. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Well, they like gather all the non-brainwashed crew because they keep mentioning these radio zombies because
Yeah.
last episode was it?
Yeah, it might have been the episode before, but basically there's like a kid show, the Bucky show, that has been taken over by the aliens to brainwash people.
Yeah.
And it's still going on, it seems. There's
Yeah,
still,
so like
most of Babylon 5 is
I
still
think
taken
most of
over.
the world are still.
I think later on they say like 60% of like the military is taken over. So it's like we'd lose a fight against ourselves at this rate.
Yeah, which is quite fun because it kind of sets that stake and like background to it all.
Yeah.
We don't really see too much of it affecting the episode. There's a certain bit with Captain Clayton that's quite cool, but most of the time it's just like everything's going to shit, and they don't have the forces to like directly fight back. So
yeah. And they're like, the command room is like the only safe place because we blocked it out. So they're like, condition red, we need to go to the secret hangar. I was like, this entire city is secret. The Babylon 5 is secret. We've already been revealed the secret Sky Knight. Like, how many more secrets do these cunts have?
It's so stupid, and it's just like, okay, there's another
and
big secret. They talk about it later, and they're like, it's because we didn't know who we could trust, and it's like, like you didn't know there was a radio zombie situation, or did you? I don't know.
Yeah, with Clayton and Penny. Clayton's complaining about the cold.
Yeah, and what's this like? Penny's kind of complaining, and then Clayton just like smacks him in the face.
Yes. I really well know watched this bit again.
I missed it because I was messaging you to say I'm watching Project Blue Earth, and I looked up and he just smacked
this made me burst out laughing so much I had to go back and watch it again. So yeah, like Penny's like Penny's all like down on himself, and Clayton's like, you need to go get her, like
because Margaret got kidnapped.
Yeah, you need to save her. And Penny's like, yeah, but like she's not even human. like maybe she'll be happier with the bug ones. And Clayton, considering Penny is what, like 15 maybe, Clayton's like a 50-year-old man. He literally picks him up from the floor and just punches him in the face, and he like flies across the room. It's so funny. I was like, oh, Clayton, you can't do that. What the fuck?
You can't just beat up children.
And it's literally just the two of them there at this point. And he's like, she was dependent on you. We need to go and meet up with Babylon 5 so we can go save her.
Yeah.
And then Penny like grabs a book and he's thinking about Element X.
Yeah, he's like, this is what the guy was looking for. So this is where he was looking in the books. So I'm going to look in the books too.
And he said he's got this one clue. And I was like, I've sussed it 'cause it's obvious. And I was well wrong.
What do you think it was?
Like, the clue is he'll leave Element X where the synonyms live. And I was like, Element X is in a thesaurus.
Right.
Obviously.
Well, that's the thing. They say synonym, but when it turns out it's not synonym, it's synonym is the name of the thing. So I'm like, there's not even.
I think it's shortened to synonym.
Yeah, but that's not.
But yeah, when they're looking through books and they're like, oh, where the synonyms are, I was like, oh, well, it's in a thesaurus then, obviously.
But that's not a very good clue. Then. I mean, it's a very good clue. It's not a very good riddle. But
I was like, it's a kid's show. Fine, I can figure it out. Kind of, so they're going to look through all the books. There's like thousands of books.
Yeah. And then we get introduced to the secret weapon.
Yeah.
So they were like, the normal one's called Sky Knight. What's bigger than the sky? The universe.
And they're like, we've got Universe Knight. It's so much better than Sky Knight. And I'm like,
James is
why didn't they use that in the first place?
Well, they said it's not. It's only just finished, and they don't know its potential. But they're like, we don't know its potential, but it's 10 times the speed and 50 times the power. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, what about the Invincible? That was literally pegged as this like the Invincible, the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but I think that's like a big slow one, and this is like. It's a Thunderbird thing, it's like the big Thunderbird.
This bit made me laugh as well because it's like it's Brees, the general guy who I don't know his name but always appears.
Yeah,
Emily and Billy basically in this top secret hangar, and Dr. Brees is like, this is top secret, nobody knows about it. And then James just walks in and I'm like, well, I guess someone else knows about it.
He's like, I'll do it. Yeah, and there's this whole conversation. They're like, we don't have enough crew because everyone's radioed up, and they're like, who can we get? And it's like, Billy's like, I'll do it. And it's like, okay. And then
he's like, I can't forgive the bug ones for all they've done. And it was like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and Emily's like, oh yeah, well I'll have to do it as well, even though she's the protector of fucking Lotta, who's not going on the ship.
And then we get this bit where they all put their spacesuits on, and Emily is just like extremely sexy for some reason. Like she's got like a like she's wearing this really like tight space helmet, and they play like the music, and they like close it up, like moving up her body, and I was like, what the fuck is this? What's happened here?
They need to put some women body fan service in it.
And then the next,
and also
bit,
like her hair's like tied up, so she looks like more like sexy. And she's like,
yeah. And then the next bit was even more confusing for me, because like Lotta is then saying goodbye to Billy, and he's like getting all like fluttery and starstruck because she's brought a gift, and he's like looking at her lovingly, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was a thing throughout the whole thing.
Was it? She's like 10.
Yeah, but he's also young.
He's like 15.
No, he's not as old as Penny.
Oh, he's still older than Lotta.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And the note's like, I love you, don't die. And
yeah.
like,
he's a bit disappointed that she's also got gifts for the others.
Yes,
but they don't have a note.
He has a special note, yeah.
That whole scene was just like, where has all this come from?
Well, it's funny because it starts with Billy like, and his suit's too big because obviously he didn't make it for thing, and it literally just cuts straight to like, wow, chicka, wow. Yeah, very funny. And then they do a little briefing bit, and we don't need to say much because they're basically doing a Death Star, aren't they? They're like, this is a big thing, and we have to go and do a shooting.
Fly into the hole, blow it up, and the whole thing will explode. Yeah, and the ship's getting ready to launch, and you see Lotta like waving from a window, and Billy's again like, ooh.
I think the point is that there was always a bit of a thing, but he only just realised then, kind of thing.
Right.
That was kind of what.
If you say so. Yeah. And just that taken off, James has got like a shaky hand. We've seen at points in previous episodes that he has a bit of shaky hand.
I'm not really sure if it really gets explained. We know that
it does.
Is it the whole they're all degrading kind of thing? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But
my note said, did they make Emily hotter?
yes, they did. 100% did.
And my next note says, different hair, maybe.
But yeah, the operating mechanism's offline.
Yeah, it's basically like a missile silo thing, isn't it? And the hatch won't open up.
No, like we need someone to like lead the ship and go do it. And James is like, I'll do it. The one person that can fly this ship, I'll do it. And they're like, no, but Billy's like, I've got a pal that could do it. And I was like, okay, who?
And then it goes back to Penny and
Clayton.
They're reading the books.
And Clayton's like, we can't go through all these fucking books, please, Penny.
Yeah,
I should have gone with the other guys. They've got a much cooler mission.
Yeah, he should have. And then he's got a little Penny's got a pen.
Yeah,
which is why he's called Penny, of course. And it starts like flashing, and it's like a Morse code thing.
Yeah, it's like an SOS message.
He calls Billy calls him on his smartwatch thing, and he's like, "Hey, we've got this problem. Can you
explain the whole thing?" And Penny was like, "Cool, I will come." And he was like, "Oh, by the way, do you know anything about synonyms?"
Yeah, and then he's like, "Can you look up the definition?" And I'm like, "We know the definition of synonym." I was thinking the same as you. I was like,
but no, Billy's like, "Oh yeah, there's a type of black ant that are called synonyms." Yeah. Try that. And he's like, oh, that's it.
And I was like, oh, those ants in the corner.
And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how's anyone meant to figure that out?
Yeah, especially as it's not called that. It's synonym.
And then Clayton's like, this is boring as fuck. You deal with the ants. Yeah. I'll go do the cool rocket mission. Makes sense. Because I ain't reading no more books.
And then there's a really funny bit where Clayton's just driving in the car. Clayton's in the car. And he's like, I'm just going to put my tunes on. He turns the radio on. It's like talk radio. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. And then the bog ones are going to create a utopia for us. And he's like, I forgot about this fucking propaganda.
Yeah, he's like, is there nothing else on?
I think he literally says like, oh, I want to listen to my music or whatever.
Yeah. And then he turns around onto a bridge and there's like a blockade and they immediately like shoot a rocket
like
at him.
Cannon just hits him.
And there's just a big explosion.
I was like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah. Who's going to open the missile silo now?
It'll have to be Billy, I'm sure.
And then randomly somewhere gets bombed by the bug ones.
Oh yeah, they like shoot like a weird organic nuke thing, and it just hits. I think it's just like nowhere, but it just shows off that they can
Yeah.
do a big nuke.
And then like the ghost Margaret appears again, and she's like, "We're gonna do another one in an hour. You need to fucking surrender. Like we gave you a time limit."
They haven't said anything.
Yeah, like come on, answer your fucking phones, guys.
And then Clayton is. Oh yeah, he's okay. Well, he's injured. He's bleeding a bit.
Oh yeah,
he's on like a public phone, and he's called up.
But just before that, James has suggested blowing a hole through the door to get the rocket out, and they're like, "You're an idiot. That would destroy the entirety of the city. Like the only bombs we've got on here are like nuclear bombs. You can't shoot it 10 meters in front of us."
James is dumb.
But yeah, Dr. Breeze gets a call from Clayton, and he's all like banged up, and he's getting shot at.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to open the gate." And I was like, Clayton is like, he's bleeding out, and he has his hero moment here.
It's quite a cool bit because the army guys that have been like turned, they're all just like shooting at him, and it's like a proper firefight. And
he like runs off, and
I think he throws a grenade and like blows all the men up.
Go on, Clayton.
Yeah, and he goes up and he starts to do the
he turns the big
thing.
wheel.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere he's shot by an arrow, and he's like, "Oh, no, an arrow shoots into the wheel next to him." I think.
No, he does. I think he does maybe get shot there.
Oh, okay. And he's like, "Ooh."
Yeah, and then it cuts away to the ant situation, and he finds the whole sim synonym thing.
It's a stim synonym black ant. Apparently they're like parasitic.
Yeah,
in that they take over other like ants' nests and live there instead.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing of like, well, it's in the place where they make their nest or make their home, where the synonym makes its home or something. And he's like, well, if they don't make their own home, where's it going to be? And it's like, well, obviously it's probably in that big tank thing where
they've got a little ant farm.
And he like moves it, and he's looking at it, and like it projects onto the ceiling that it's like a whole formula. It's like a chemical formula.
Yeah. And then just as this bit, he's looking at that. Out of nowhere, we just see Washington the dog's like body dropped at his feet, and I was
did
like,
"Washington die?" I think so.
I think he comes back, but I was like, "Wait, has the lovable dog from the previous 5 episodes, the one who just ripped into nurses' throats at the hospital,
bloodthirsty dog,
has just been dropped on the floor in front of his owner?"
Yeah, I guess
like,
so.
Oh no!
Yeah. And there's just like a load of like FBI looking guys. And they're like, hey,
and they're like, "Give us those ants," and he's like, "No," and like throws them off the balcony. And then these like suits arrest him.
Yeah, and they're like, "We've got Penny Carter or whatever he's called."
Were you thinking of Peggy Carter?
I think he is called Penny Carter.
I think you're thinking of Peggy Carter.
I know, we've had this discussion before.
We're back to the ship. Clayton's got the door open, and they're like, "Launch in T-minus 20 seconds."
Penny Carter.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
That's so weird. And then whilst he's doing it, the Robot Rick appears again.
Yes, and he just like punches him.
Did we explain why we call him Robot Rick?
It's a guy who looks like Rick from Rick and Morty, and he also looks like Robotnik from Sonic.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak, or maybe he does speak. I think he says like, "Where's the Element X?"
Yeah, and in the credits, he's just a question mark.
Yeah. And I think since like 2 episodes ago, he's got like a robot claw hand. I don't think he always did. And that robot claw hand shoots harpoons from the middle of it.
Yeah. But he appears and Clayton shoots him in the face.
Yes.
But he just like stands back up and he's fine. He's like, "Oh shit, this guy can't die."
Yeah.
James, who also can't die.
Yeah, there's a whole bit where I think it's this bit here where he's like, he says that. He's like, "You must be just like James. You've lost your humanity."
Yeah.
And that's all we find out about this guy.
Yeah. He throws Clayton to the side and turns the wheel back, so it closes the gate.
It's so annoying.
And then he turns and shoots Clayton like in the stomach with an arrow, and I was like, I don't think Clayton's making it to the end of this episode.
And then he does the thing that everyone knows you should do and just pulls this giant spear out of him. Blood starts spewing.
Yeah, I think this is the bit where he says you've lost your humanity. Yeah. And then he runs over and just kicks Robot Rick, who then like falls.
Yeah, he kind of like
the half open door,
throws him back over, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like it's a big circle that opens up in like the middle of a lake or something.
It's like a Thunderbirds thing.
Yeah, and he's now hanging onto the door.
Yeah.
And it opens up again because Clayton's turned the wheel again.
He opens up and like breaks it or something, does he? Oh no, he pulls the spear out of the wall from before.
And he throws it at Robot Rig.
Yeah, who then gets like impaled, falls back down, and kind of presumably gets burned as the rocket goes past.
Yeah, well, the rocket's shooting, he's putting all the flames, and he falls into that, and it's like, I don't know if he's going to survive that.
No.
Although we did once see Shadow Chaser survive a very similar thing. So
they're similar characters, aren't they? Actually, yeah.
And then Clayton. The fucking hero that he is, because at this point I was like, what a man. He
does a Blade Runner 2049 and just lies down, starts trying to smoke a cigarette.
And he's kind of, I think it's his thought process. You don't see his mouth move, but he's like thinking about James, being like, oh, I hope James is okay.
He fucking loves James.
He really does. And then like he like collapses and dies. And then we see James on the ship turn and like salute. And I'm like, what?
You didn't see that.
Yeah, he didn't see that.
I thought they were going to do a thing where it was like he was wondering if James was good or bad, kind of thing.
Yeah, because we wondered about that.
Yeah, and it kind of shows like his thoughts of James and like all the
times they had together.
All the times they had of them skipping down the beach and drinking champagne in bed and all that sort of thing. But no, I was kind of thinking like, oh, is he going to be a sleeper agent? But I mean, that's not where it goes. So.
No.
But it was a good moment for Clayton. I don't think he even got to light his cigarette, did he? So it was a bit of a shame for him. But
he went out on a high as a one-man machine who saved the day.
I mean, it's a good thing Penny didn't go in his place because he would have been absolutely useless. That dog would have been definitely dead in that case.
Penny then gets unblindfolded.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
The bag off his head kind of thing.
I think it is a blindfold. But whatever. And he's in front of the Secretary General of the UN, who's now introduced to this. I didn't know this person exists.
We've seen him a few times.
Oh, have we?
Just we've seen, they go like, what does the UN think? And the UN are like, I don't know what to do.
And he says they're going to surrender. He's like, it's like 60% of our forces are brainwashed. They're bombing our cities. Everyone's fucking dying. Like, if we don't surrender, everyone's going to be dead. And I was like, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
It's a reasonable
thing to suggest, but also it's that kind of don't negotiate with terrorists thing where it's like, they could just nuke you anyway. Like, don't.
Yeah, but they're definitely going to nuke you if you don't surrender, we believe.
Yeah. Did they say they wanted Element X in the broadcasts?
I don't think so.
No, I don't know how they knew to go after it then.
But Penny's like, yeah, but Babylon 5 are going to save the day.
And the guy's like, no.
And then there's a helmet worm ship there.
Yeah.
And we get our first look properly at the faces of the Bug One aliens.
So some of them there to drive the ship.
Yeah, I think so.
I wondered why when we see it later, there was just two of them driving the ship. I was like, I thought it was like normal guys dressed up.
It's Bug One Uber.
What was it called? Booger.
Sure.
With an umlaut over the top. Booger.
But they look like big bugs. They look like ants, funnily enough. Is that intentional?
Oh, yeah, it probably is.
I just realised that they look like ants.
Because he found those ants. He discovered that race of ants. So maybe he put a bit of ant DNA in there.
Yeah, and they say that they were
it's weird
human
that he
looking.
just made like a load of women that like a load of naked girls
that look like his granddaughter.
No, he didn't have a granddaughter. He just made a load of naked girls.
Stevenson's a bit of a creep,
and he kept one with him.
But then brought her up as a granddaughter, not his lover.
I mean, there's no reason to.
There's a couple of bits in this where we get like voiceovers from like memories of Stevenson. And I forget that he's got that like ridiculous accent.
I wrote down one of the bits phonetically like that. Yeah. So yeah, there's quite a lot of actiony bits coming up. So there's a bit where the universe night,
yeah.
Is,
I just called it Rocket Higgs. I forgot what it was called.
Universe Night is like charging ahead, and they do super GX cannons.
Yeah,
and they kill like 350 helmet worms at once.
Yeah, it's like a big electronic pulse.
But now there's 3,000 more.
Yeah, and I think they make clear they don't have many of these weapons. And I was like, well, they're fucked. And then the Secretary General, who's called Freeman, I found out, ironic name for the fact he's about to surrender the human race to a bunch of aliens.
Loser.
He radios Babylon 5 and he's like, look, we're going to surrender. So, like, you stop doing what you're doing. You're kind of ruining our little surrender here.
And then Penny is doing a Morse code and being like, hey, shoot us down so that we don't give the Project X
he says to Billy, like, we're being sold out. Like, just shoot us down.
And they're like, we're not going to kill anyone else. We've already lost enough people. And it's like, but do it though. Still,
yeah. Part of me was like, maybe just do it.
But
James like, what's their location? Then they're like, wait, what? And he's like, I'm not gonna shoot them down. I just want to know where they are. And they find it because it's the one helmet worm that's flying the other way from the rest.
But they do a whole thing where they'll lock onto the whatever and blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
and as they like going alongside it, James's hand like spasms again.
He can't control.
And because he's done that, he can't dodge bullets, and they get shot a lot.
Yes, and they get shot by loads of lasers, and then they seemingly just blow up, and it's like,
and they're like, we've lost the universe, Knight.
Yes.
And the Secretary Freeman's like, well, that's what you get. And I was like,
he's like, you should have submitted like us.
He's really trying to sell us into slavery here, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Penny's like, you're a fucking traitor, you cunt.
Then we get a James flashback. We find out what happened. He got experimented on, and then he like ran out, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we find out later that it was because he that's why he didn't get brainwashed. So he's got all the goods without the bads.
His humanity. He wakes up on the Universal Night, and they like, we're a long way off course. We've only got one more cannon, so things are pretty bad. And he's like, we don't really have power to get back to like the Bug One planet, so we're just floating off into space. And then Billy, being the boy genius, is like, why don't we try the slingshot maneuver, which seems every time
it works.
You've always got a slingshot around the moon. You just do it. Ever since Tom Hanks did it in Apollo 13, everyone does it.
That didn't happen in this universe. But yeah, they
true.
Yeah, and there's a bit where James is like a cut on his head from the explosion, and they're like, you okay, James? And it just heals.
And Billy inexplicably sees this. Like
he's like behind him.
He's sitting behind him. He's like, jaw drops. He's like, oh, how the fuck is it like the mirror he's got in front of the driver's seat? He's like, oh yes. And then we're on planet Bugwan.
Yes.
And Margaret is sitting on like this throne.
Yeah, and she's like acting like she's like one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
And like she's been told some plan or brainwashed or whatever.
Yeah, and Penny runs up to her but like gets like tasered or something.
Yeah. I don't really understand.
But I was thinking there, like, she's not, I think, or they say she's not Margaret, she's the original Infobel, the master Infobel.
But she's not the one who is
sending the messages.
No, or is that her later on? Is that what happened?
I think that is her there and then, because she's kind of joined the Bug Ones at this point.
No, because she gets a message from it at the end, so it must be her in the past or something. Because there's a whole time thing at the end. Do
you think? I just assumed it was her sitting on her throne, being like, "Look."
No, because she literally gets a message talking to her directly.
Yeah,
so I think that's a separate.
I think all the ghost Margarets is future her. But I think the Margarets that has appeared this episode, the hologram is actually current Margaret being like, surrender, guys, come on, I'm queen of the Bug Ones now.
Yeah, it might be, yeah.
But they strap Penny down and they're like, we're gonna extract the Element X plans from him, and the Secretary of Freeman's like, whoa, you didn't tell me you were gonna like be mean to us, this planet we've been at war against for a very long time. And then all of the UN people get shot and
they
killed.
just get lasered into nothing. It's quite funny. And Margaret's like appalled by it, obviously.
Yeah, she's like, whoa, that's not meant to happen. And then a suitcase disappears.
I think they brought a bomb on board, but they don't mention it because it looked like a little nuclear bomb situation. Right. I think maybe the UN had brought it as like a insurance policy thing.
Right, okay.
But yeah, the Bog ones like realize, and they kind of, it almost looks like they're teleporting it away. Yeah. But I think they just disintegrate it, kind of thing.
And then the Bog one's like, we've got shit to deal with, so we're gonna head off. We'll see you later, Master Infabel.
Yeah,
Have a
they
good
just
one.
leave her in the room. Yeah, this really confused me because there's this whole bit with Penny because Penny they put Penny in the machine and they're like, we're gonna get the element X out of his brain.
Yes.
He's get he's getting zapped,
Oh, yeah,
and it
yeah.
almost looks like he's getting disintegrated, but we know that he's getting.
And she's like, "Trust me, Penny," and he
Yeah.
screams, and he gets a bit of a flashback montage.
Yeah, it's just all of his
Yeah.
memories as well.
But then the universe Knight is now flying back to the Bug One planet. Apparently, it doesn't
Yeah.
take long to slingshot around the moon.
Yeah, who knows what's going on? It's like a big rescue time, and
it's kind of it's having problems. It's breaking down, and it just basically
I
flies
think one
into
of its or two of its engines are gone or whatever. It's that
it just flies straight into this main building we've seen on Planet Bug One.
Yes, and at the same time, the machine that was doing the thing to Penny like is also synthesizing Element X and pops it out in a little
goes,
thing.
Ding!
Yeah, like a little
and comes out in a little tray, and they're like, "Oh, we've got it," and they're like, "We're gonna go." This is the bit where they leave. They're like, "We've got to go deal with that ship that's just crashed."
That's it. Yeah.
And then Margaret gets Penny out of the machine, and she's like, Penny's like, "I saw into their minds somehow. I know what they want. They want our bodies."
Yeah,
and I think it's because
he explains the whole thing that we've now seen. Kind of.
So they developed their civilization, but they had a limited lifespan. They've mutated loads. And they wanted to put their life force into humans so they could live longer, which is why they've been experimenting on people like James and Robot Rick.
I think they also couldn't reproduce, maybe, or they could, but now they can't, or something like that.
Yeah,
it seems like they've got some limitation.
They say they're running out of time. Basically, they're all going to die soon if they don't.
Yeah,
and they probably should have sped up this war effort.
Well, yeah, and at the same time, we see like the guys that are coming in to rescue like lift up one of the gold masks and they see the bug face. I think it's Emily, and she's like, ugh.
Yeah, and it's like an old wrinkly bug face. It's not not one of the young handsome bugs that we saw earlier.
No, and they talk about like it's kind of a crossbreeding situation. Like they're gonna then use humans to carry it on.
Yeah, and all their hopes on Element X.
And they kind of say Penny's like, oh, we're going to be like livestock if we do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we need to.
So they've now met up with the main group, and they're like, Margaret, stop what you're doing, and she's like, no. If they get
they'll change their mind. Kind of thing. Yeah.
And that we could coexist.
She's got such an annoying voice in this as well. She's like, oh no, they'll change their mind.
Yeah.
They can change though.
Yeah, but like Penny is just like, Margaret, you have it wrong. Like that's not what's gonna happen. And she's like, well, I'm not human after all, and I'm not evil. And I was like, well, you kind of are supporting the bad guys at this point. Like,
and he kind of goes like, what are you talking about? And it's like, you saw the bit where she was an infidel at the end of the
earlier,
last episode.
before like Clayton punched him, he was like, maybe we shouldn't save her. She's not human.
Yeah, I guess that's his character arc. There's like a bit of like a lovey moment where they kind of look at each other and they're like, and she's like, but I'm just gonna go, and then she just like runs off and like flies up on a lift.
Yeah.
Did she do something so he can't follow her?
Maybe
she sets the robots on him because there's a load of robots.
She programs a robot or something that just pins him down, and then the other people like shoot it.
They just come in, shoot all the robots.
Yeah.
And then James like, I know the way because I escaped before, remember? And they're like, no. And he's like, well, I do. So
and he quickly explained it, and it was like, okay, cool. And then Margaret is trying to...
They catch up with her so easily.
Yeah. She's trying to finish the Bug One plan and put Element X into this machine that's going to save them all or whatever.
Something, yeah.
But they all catch up and she's like, Margaret's like, I don't want any more blood spilled. I was like, okay.
Maybe you shouldn't fight with the bad guys.
Yeah, and like what I've now called them the Bug One Elite.
The gold mask. They're like the Emperor's Guard guys, aren't they?
Yeah, the Praetorian Guard.
Yes.
And they're there, and James just shoots them all.
Well, he like fights a few of them, but then like the rest of them just fall on the floor, and they're like, oh.
I thought he just shot them all.
He's like fighting with one, and I think maybe the rest just fall down.
I know. I think he shoots a few of them, then fights like the main one.
Yeah.
So he shoots them apart from the main one.
But I still think some just fall down of their own accord because they're all deteriorating. Maybe because there's a bit where they look around and they're like, "What?" and like as if something happened.
Okay. And James like punches his mask off, and he's like injured. and all the bug ones are dying,
Yeah.
and Margaret's dying, and she's like, Penny, I love you, even though I'm infidel, I can open my heart to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm convinced. I love you too.
And he's like, I'm gonna do the science thing.
And James is like, can we fucking blow this place up now and go home? Like, please. These guys fucking experimented on me, and they've been like decimating the earth for the last like year
They've
or
been
so.
nuking us for like ages.
And then Billy's like, nah,
he's like,
Penny,
any opportunity
X.
to do a bit of science, and they start doing a bit of science on the computer.
And they're like, can't let Margaret die. They literally say, we have the power of science.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they stick the element X in, and they press something, or it seems to affect everyone at once.
There's a big light, and the bug one planet like turns green.
Yeah, I don't really know. And then all of them start transforming. All the bug ones.
Margaret like wakes up. She's cured.
Yeah.
And the bug ones, they turn human.
And they turn into like old women versions of Margaret, but with little antenna, like mantis kind of
and then
thing.
it goes full Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they all start melting, and it's like, oh, okay. Element X like shines, and this Professor Stevenson's ghost appears.
Yes, and this is when he says, "Welcome home, my daughters."
I'm so proud of you.
And then he speaks for ages, but he's basically just like, this is the message for when you come back home, and hopefully it's all good. It might be tens of thousands of years. It's like, mate, it's been literally like 20 years.
Yeah. He didn't think they'd go through like a time warp.
Well, they might have gone in there. We don't know. That's just
yeah. And then he said, the purpose of Element X was to further the infobile. And,
very good.
But the bug ones, it turns out they've mutated too much as they develop, because Stevenson did a pretty shit job of creating this new race.
It was meant for the original lot, so that's why it works on Margaret, but it doesn't work on the new batch of Infidel's.
And James is also then dying because he's also basically the same as the bug ones, but
it doesn't make any sense.
He's been experimenting. He's like them, but he still looks human. He still thinks human.
He's been given some internal bits of them or whatever.
Yeah, he's got some DNA probably, but he's dying, which is probably why he's been a bit shaky recently.
Yes, yeah.
And he's like, it's okay. When I go, Clayton will be waiting up there with me with some bubbly. And I was like, yeah, in a hot tub, like a love-shaped hot tub with like red lights and candles.
Until he says that, it's Emily who's like holding him, and I'm like, was there like an unspoken romance between these two?
I reckon those two are having an
and
affair.
that's kind of where it's leading to until he goes, my old man / lover, Clayton.
Yeah, and then he dies, and there's a big explosion.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay. And then Dr. Priest, back at Babylon 5, almost kind of taking credit for this whole thing. He's like, oh yes, the bug one planet is floating away.
Yeah.
We've done it.
He's like, it's going to go back into the black hole that it came out of, basically. It's like a time warp situation.
Meanwhile, Billy's like, this rocket can't fly. We're fucked. But Margaret finds a little baby.
There's just a baby with antenna.
Which it was under a cloak or something. Maybe
I think it was one of them that was less mutated. Maybe it works on them somehow.
Was it James?
I don't think so.
Or maybe it was King Bug One, the main guy. It looked like it was like under some robes, like Obi-Wan had just died there or something.
Yeah, so it was one of the ones they fought.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
One of them.
Just one. But
yeah, there's a little baby there. It's a human baby of some like antennas.
Yeah,
basically.
Head, but yeah.
And she's like, Penny, I love you, but I've got to go raise a kid.
I'm going. She's like, this is my daughter.
And then like the center of like this city just like lifts off.
Yeah.
And flies away.
Yeah.
And Penny's like, oh, okay. And she sits on the throne with the baby.
Yeah. And this is when the ghost version that we saw back in the day, the one that was giving all the clues, is like, hello, well done, you've done the right thing.
You have completed your mission.
Yeah, and it's like, when you come back to in the past, and when you go through the wormhole, you'll be back in the past, and it will all be alive, and you can redo what happened or something.
Yeah.
Okay. It's bizarre. She says you can lead the people to stop the tragedy.
So make sure this doesn't repeat.
So I think then that then she will then send these messages back to guide herself, kind of thing.
But she's not stopping it repeating. She's ensuring that it repeats. Surely it's a paradox.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but
So
also
I think Ghost Margaret is dumb.
Yeah, well, it's just normal Margaret.
She's also
She's
dumb.
dumb. We know that. We know she's still convinced that the plan was going to work, even though it didn't work.
Yeah.
But also, the boys are trying to like contact her. But if she's 20 years in the past, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Is it?
And the ghost disappears.
Yeah.
And then Margaret sitting on the thing is like, that weird person that was giving us riddles for the last year or so. Turns out to be me. I guess I need to come up with a riddle to be like her. And then says, at the end of the millennium, a silver trumpet will sound out. And I was like,
well, that was one of the first ones. So
was it?
She knew it somehow. And then we find out it was the end of the millennium in the speech in a moment. But I don't remember any silver trumpet. Is there a trumpet?
No. No.
Is that what the radar dish is at the end?
That's a stretch.
That's a bit too clever, isn't it?
I was thinking there's the parade at that one point where they get the
it would have been funny if one guy at the front had a big silver trumpet.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Maybe
thinking.
he did, yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, the final shot is a big silver radar dish that's going into space. So maybe it's that. It'd be a bit stupid. But...
Meanwhile, Penny's like, "Oh no, what were we even fighting for?" And I was like, "Really, Penny? Really?"
You didn't even know this girl. Also, what's really funny is how she was so staunchly denying being the ghost girl, and she's like, "Oh,
whoopsie!"
she kept getting so pissed off in the last two episodes.
Yeah, like Penny, we've been the human race has been at war for like a year.
He met her like literally maybe a month ago.
Yeah,
maybe two.
The human race has literally been decimated. Like at least.
I mean, are the radio zombies even still? We don't even know what's going on with that. That might be.
Maybe they all died,
or maybe they're still fighting everyone. They just gotta kill them all.
Yeah. And Billy's like, "Oh, don't worry, we can go and get Margaret. And this point they're like on a crash ship in a river somewhere.
I think when she shot her bit off, she shot them away as
yeah. And like it's Billy and Penny talking, sitting on the top as the sun rises. But like, where is Emily?
I don't know. I think they got like what is it, like a lifeboat shot off?
Yeah,
but there wasn't any like.
Who else went up there? There was the general guy who we've not really spoke about. Who
he must have died.
Who he at one point when they were shooting their way through, he was like, "You go on ahead, I'll hold it here."
They just left him there,
and
he's gone back in time.
I think he got killed as well.
Yeah. So it was just Emily that was with them then.
Yeah,
because James died.
Yeah, and Emily's the hot one.
Of course. There should have been a bit where she was like, "Oh no, I need to swim to safety. I have to take off my suit."
And then the Babylon 5 appears on like some warships. Yeah. And they're like waving it, and there are photographers there who takes a picture, and it's at that moment
they're like about to fall off.
They fall off, and it's like,
yeah, there's like weird moments. I quite like. Well, we can talk about like our overall feelings in a bit, but the tone shifts quite a lot throughout these. But sometimes it's like really quite like verging on kind of more adult, kind of intense, life-threatening situations, high stakes. And sometimes it's like, whoopsie, a little boy fell in the river.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit, contrast.
Sometimes it reminds you that it's a kid's show. Lotta visits Billy.
Yeah, it's like a flash forward to afterwards.
Yeah, and he's designed like a rocket that can go to a faraway planet in like 8 years.
Which still isn't very good, really.
But it's pretty good.
But I think, because he kind of said, we can go get Margaret, but I think it was a bit of like, hey, come on, mate, we can go get her.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the best we can do. In 8 years, we could get maybe near her.
I always think, like, when you see like sci-fi, when you get things like Interstellar or something, where they can build a spaceship that can go to a faraway planet in like 100 years or something. I always imagine like them getting there, and then there already being people there because like, in the last 100 years we built a much faster ship.
Well, that's what happens in Interstellar, pretty much, isn't it? There's a bit where he's like messing around in fifth dimension or fourth dimension or whatever, and then there ends up being like a space colony, and he meets his I'm spoiling the end of Interstellar for anyone, but he like meets his descendant or whatever, or his daughter.
Oh no, I think he goes back to Earth.
No, it's like flying around in space.
Yeah, but I think he gets caught up because he goes to the water planet where it's like because of the gravity and where it is. It's
no,
like
but he does go
it's
into,
like 1 minute on this
he goes
planet
into
is
the
like
black hole situation. That's but there's a whole black hole situation, and then there's a weird floating space station thing.
Yeah, but
so they have developed enough that they've got like flying stuff at the end.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So the technology's gone like.
But I think that's because he travels forward. I'm thinking these guys just chilling on a ship, and the ship catches up with them because the technology's advanced.
Yeah, it's partly that, and he does go into a black hole situation as well.
Yeah, so, I remember that.
Yeah.
I probably need to watch Interstellar again.
Well, the bit with the water planet is where he watches all the things and realizes he's missed a whole life.
It's like a
but there's another like 50 years when he goes in the black hole or whatever.
It's a weird film, isn't it?
Very strange. I'd like to watch it again. I think I've only seen that once. I tried to watch it at an outdoor cinema. You were there, the outdoor cinema thing?
I don't think I was.
Oh, maybe not.
I've seen it once, and I remember thinking it was good, but a little overrated. That's probably why I haven't watched it again.
I think I saw it in the cinema. I can't remember. Anyway.
But yeah, anyway. Lotta's like, oh, stop with your rocket nonsense. We've got a ceremony to go to.
My note here says, Emily has a lot of breasts.
Yeah, it's a world peace ceremony. It's very Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yes, and did you notice that as the speech is being made, we get flashes of all the different characters listening to the radio? So we get the fisherman, who is the Japanese Prime Minister's uncle.
Oh my god, I forgot that. We
get the Canadian guy who gave them the lift. He's there listening to it.
Wow.
We also get the dead astronaut at the ceremony. Dead astronaut's wife. She's holding a picture of the dead guy.
Jeez, I missed all of that. I was just like, this is just a random bunch of people.
When I saw the first guy, the fisherman, I was like, that's that guy. Or it might have been the mates of that guy. I don't know if it was that guy.
Japanese Prime Minister.
And then the next guy was definitely the Canadian guy. Yeah, and Dr. Breast is like, it's the end. It's the year 2000. Now it's the end of the millennium.
And maybe there's a silver trumpet here.
Yeah, maybe. Because they heavily go into the end of millennium stuff. So yeah.
But Penny has heard an alien signal while he's doing his research. And Washington the dog's like there, like asleep on the ground. And I was like,
he's just dead. And he's just like,
yeah, they
stuffed him.
I was thinking like maybe make him move.
Like when he says, Washington, there's something there. Yeah, and there's a guy next to him that like has a really weird reaction. Did you see that? When Penny's like, something happened, this guy's like, whoa! He goes like absolutely crazy. And
I didn't really notice, I don't think.
Nice.
I think
it's just a new character that's next to him.
I was just writing down like, oh my god, Washington's alive.
But yeah, he seems to be working at some monitoring station thing.
Yeah, and he's wondering about Margaret.
Yeah, and it kind of does a weird zoom out from the dish like into space kind of thing, and then that's kind of the end.
Yeah, that's the end.
So it's kind of weirdly open-ended. I feel like
it was a weird series.
I feel like the Bogwan time travel stuff, like the fact that they were sent off and then they came back, I feel like I've seen that in something else. It really rung a bell.
It's the plot of the first Star Trek film, which I doubt you've seen.
No.
But in that there's the villain is this kind of super advanced robot thing called Vija, which turned out to be the Voyager ship that humans sent off into space. It's come back really advanced, forgetting all its history.
Right,
so a similar kind of plot line.
There's similar-ish stuff in Lightyear, which I know you haven't seen.
No, I haven't. So
that mixed with Interstellar in a lot of ways.
But yeah, I mean, I think when you kind of think about the story, I was like, this was good. I like talking about this final episode. I think this is one of the stronger episodes.
Yeah, I would say so. It basically did all the stuff we've been waiting for. Like episode 1 and this were both quite good.
Yeah.
Because 1 really set the scenes of like...
I think this probably could have been like a 3 or 4 episode series.
Yeah. Because the thing is like the one with like the Swedish princess or whatever getting captured with the island.
Yeah.
That was unnecessary. Because the fact they were taking people didn't really make any sense.
Although I guess that's...
But they didn't actually secret invasion anyone in that.
No, but
but because that was then told by the parents coming back.
Yeah,
who then got
I think
sniped.
in this last episode they could have been like, "Oh, that's why they were stealing all these bodies."
Yeah. Because I think that is the implication there. But why did they have so many and they didn't do anything with it? Maybe it takes like 5 years to do it. Or something.
And I guess that kind of makes the episode worth it in this last one, being like, oh, that's why they're saying, but it needs to be explained a bit better.
Yeah, they didn't need it at all if it wasn't going to come into it, because Penny's parents coming back as zombies or whatever made more sense. I also feel like I like the radio zombie thing, but I think maybe it could have happened a bit earlier to give a little bit, have that as like their way of doing the battle. So they're doing like a Cold War and they're making everyone fight each other.
Yeah, they could have done
like a whole episode on that, because it was only half an episode, then half ghost hunting stuff.
Yeah, and like I like the idea, and that the stuff we had in the hospital was fun.
It was really fun,
but like that was, we basically didn't see them all. We get told in this, and we see the one shooting Clayton.
Yeah,
but they don't really do anything.
You could do some really cool stuff with that, because the scene we see where they're like driving through the city and they're all like up on the roofs and the army are like bombing them. Like, I feel like that could have been
There was some really, really fun stuff throughout this series.
Yeah.
I think it was just a bit bogged down with other stuff.
Bog one down. I think when we saw action, like in this episode, the space stuff was all pretty good. Clayton having the little firefight and the fight with the guy.
Yeah.
It was all like, it wasn't like over the top anime action. It was just like decent, like, and it was kind of quite realistic animated fighting kind of thing.
It seemed like
realistic, like everyone seemed pretty mortal in this, apart from like James.
The immortal people. Yeah,
I was gonna burp in the middle of it. Apart from James, like Clayton, he died. It seemed quite like there was a lot of danger for a lot of the characters.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a couple of questions. We had 6 questions for episode 6.
Okay, cool. I don't remember any of these.
So we wrote these together at the end of episode 5, and these were what we hoped would be explained in this episode.
Yeah.
I haven't reread through these, not properly anyway. I just copied them across from my notes last time. So we'll see what happened with them. So question 1, who are the Bogwans? Egg people ?
So yeah, that is confirmed. The egg people are the infidels that Stevenson created.
Yes,
it is confirmed that they went off and came back.
We got that all pretty much.
Yeah.
It would have been quite cool to see maybe a little bit more of that, like see
a montage of their evolution
when it was described. That would have been quite cool to see, like all the weird stages. Maybe see like a half bug, half girl person. Number 2 is James an Eggman? I guess
it's explained that he's not. We get.
He's not a full on.
Yeah, he's experimented on.
He is not the Eggman.
He's not an Eggman,
but he was an egg zombie almost, but not programmed.
But yeah, he still had consciousness.
Question 3 was Ghost Margaret time travel.
Yes.
Yes. I guess I don't really know exactly. I mean, Ghost Margaret was time traveling basically. If the way that we understood it, anyway. Yeah.
Cool. No, I'm pretty happy so far.
We're not going to get this one. Question 4: Lotta breast name origin reveal.
No. Well, unless she's named after her hero, Emily.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, maybe there's some sort of future thing there where Emily is future Lotta. She's gone through the time portal. This is a stupid question. Question 5: How do they win? Well, we saw how they won. They kind of, well, they didn't really have to do too much. It's a bit Indiana Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, they gave them the stuff they wanted and it killed them all.
But if they didn't get it, they would have died anyway.
Yeah.
So
and James still would have died. The general guy would have survived, and Clayton would have survived.
Yeah, so if they'd all just stayed in that house, though they might have done the nuke, though. They might have nuked where they were. But they pretty much didn't have to do too much. They could have messed around a bit, shot him a bit. But it
was getting Penny that kind of put it
and
forward.
Question 6 kind of got answered. What's the deal with Robot Rick?
He's James, but
he's
one step
James,
further.
Yeah, one step beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Yeah. I was kind of expecting more unanswered stuff,
but they kind of did.
I think they pretty much answered everything. I mean, there was some stuff that was intentionally just like waved over, but it wasn't like
important
questions.
Stuff as
and
well.
I feel like they kind of left it open to, if it had been successful enough, they could have done more with this.
Yeah,
like the whole
season 2, they go to visit Margaret, or go find Margaret,
and they could be like, and then there's a whole other race of people that are even more evil, and because we're 20 years back or whatever, the bog ones are nice still or whatever, and they're all
team
naked.
up with the
they're all
ones.
naked girls, and it's 5 years later, so they've all got giant breasts.
Probably
even the boys.
So do you want to give a rating for this episode and then a rating for the series overall then?
I mean, I enjoyed this episode. I think it was good to have some time off because we were kind of souring on it a little bit. I'm gonna go fairly high on this one because I did quite enjoy it.
Same.
I think I'll probably go for like 8 for the episode.
I was also thinking an 8. I'm gonna give this episode an 8.
I think this series as a whole, because of the reasons we said, has got to go a little bit lower.
Yeah, I think I'm giving it a 7 for the series because overall it was still good and I enjoyed it. I think there's just a bit too much in there.
The pacing was pretty dreadful at times.
Yeah.
Considering, I think, as we said, I think we said at the start of the episode, if it had been 12 25-minute episodes, or 20-minute episodes, half of them would have been shit, but then at least it would have been like, it would have moved on quick and you would have finished it and been like, hey, whatever. Like, that's what I do when I finish something shit.
Ironically, if it was done that, like, Zeta was about half the length. We'd often watch 2 of them for the pod.
Yeah, but then
we would have watched it the same.
But then they could have re-edited it, like rewritten it, so that there was like a story beat, and some of these mysteries could have been teased over multiple things rather than being introduced like halfway through an episode.
They should have done that anyway, really.
Yeah,
but I think like the story was interesting, and like the kind of alien invasion.
And although the mysteries were like a little bit forced sometimes, it was nice to have some. It's always nice when it's not just like a straightforward thing.
Yeah.
When there's a bit of intrigue of like what's going on here.
And I like the characters. At first, like episode 1, I remember thinking that Billy and Penny were going to be annoying, but they're actually all right.
They're okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they tone down a lot of that stuff as they go through.
Yeah.
And
they became less whiny.
It's a fun cast of characters. Like everyone's kind of fills a little niche there.
Yeah.
I feel like both, like, I guess like Emily and James are kind of the same characters in a lot of ways.
Except he's immortal.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like, you could cut them. I mean, Billy and Penny could be the same character as well, really, couldn't they?
And they probably, if they wanted to, could have combined Dr. Breest and Clayton.
Yeah. And also, like, Lotta doesn't need to be in it at all, really. No.
But
you know,
it also means that they can go off and do different missions.
Like,
if there's less characters, there's not as much you can do with them. So
and make the dog talk. Come on.
I did like Washington. He could sense the aliens.
And it was and it was cool. Like the kind of retro sci-fi stuff was pretty fun. It wasn't something that we see masses of now. So it was quite. I liked that it wasn't. It was almost like a War of the Worlds kind of thing. It wasn't quite steampunk. It was like, it was this kind of Jetsons-y kind of vibe there, which I quite liked. And the fact that it wasn't afraid to get like a bit bloody at times. Like when James just fucking sniped Penny's mum. That was the first time we really saw anything. And it was just like brutal. And times like that, I'm like, and there's some kind of almost horror-y moments at times.
Yeah.
Like when the first bog one came out and it was just like this horrific like bug and they were like flamethrower. I think it like killed a load of them. And like James like really anime like sliced it with like a pole. Yeah. But then there's like goofy like kids falling in the water bits.
Yeah, they had to have that to
It's a bit strange, really. But
it was an odd series, but overall,
I feel
positively about it.
I think probably a 7.
Yeah,
I don't know
same.
if 7.
Cool. I guess that brings us to the end of Project Blue Earth SOS.
Yeah.
After what?
3
hours of covering it.
That means we can start a new anime series.
Maybe we should give it a bit of a wait.
Yeah, maybe give it a little. Wait, what do you want to finish? White Rabbit.
Well, we probably should do more White Rabbit at some point, and we could pick up Zeta season 2 at some point as well.
Yeah.
But we'll plan that off pod, which means now it's time for Personal Projects.
Personal Projects.
So, Sam, what have you been Reading, writing, dancing, playing, or doing?
You missed out watching there, which is the main one we normally talk about. But actually, I have been reading something, so it's nice that you started with
there
that.
we
You knew what.
go.
So, over the last few months, I don't know how long it's taken me. I've been reading the Hellboy comics.
Right.
So Mike Mignola created him in them, the comics and the character in like the early 90s, I think.
Right.
And you might be familiar from the films. Have you seen any of the films?
I have seen all the films.
Seen all the films, yes. So I read through the first load of comics, and there's like some omnibus ones that you can get. So they collect a load of the stories and some of the short stories, and really, really enjoyed it. So I was kind of getting into it. I bought some of the physical ones. I didn't get it down from the shelf, so I can't pass it to you like I did with Wanted.
I will imagine it.
But there's some really, really good stuff. It's got really kind of iconic, moody kind of artwork. It really
the Hellboy stuff.
Hellboy stuff, yeah. It really nicely incorporates like kind of alternate history. As you remember from the film, like Rasputin is like now like a mystic monk, maybe.
Yeah.
If you remember that. There's like Nazis that have been like frozen. They come back in the modern day and that sort of stuff. Lots of it is like his origin is tied to like Nazi occult stuff, and he was brought in from another dimension and all that. And they kind of add in like Lovecraftian elements. It's all about like summoning the end times from another dimension and stuff. And it's all like stuff that is right up my alleyway. Not the Nazi stuff,
but the killing the Nazi
stuff. Yeah, and it's just genuinely very, very good stuff, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'm still kind of reading through, but I got to a certain point and I was like, oh, this is what the first film is based on. So I watched the first film, the Guillermo Del Toro 2006 or 2004, I think it might be.
I literally just looked up.
I think it might be 2004, the first one, which I really like. I think having just read the series, it does a lot of stuff quite different.
It is a pretty good film.
It's fun. It's very of its time. It feels very kind of X-Men. It feels very kind of that kind of thing. It's a little bit more superhero-y than Hellboy is. But the main thing that I found watching the film is they decided for some reason that Hellboy wasn't enough of a character to lead the film. So they bring in that like point of view guy who's just the new guy who comes to the FBI and he's like, hey, or to the BRPD. And he's like, hey, I've been transferred here and I'm going to learn everything. And it's like, I know that's a classic way of introducing a cast of characters, but he's not from the comics at all. He might be a mentioned background character.
Did you watch the 2019 one?
I haven't got to that yet, but I did watch the second one, The Golden Army, as well.
Yeah.
Which I think I don't know if that's a story that comes up in comics later, but that's way more like fantasy Guillermo del Toro. It's like the elves are living in the sewers and all that sort of stuff. I think they're both pretty fun films. I don't think.
Oh yeah, I think they're not like amazing, but they're good fun. And it's got Doug Jones in it as well, who we mentioned recently.
There's an interesting thing with that because in the first film, it was Doug Jones that portrayed him, but it was David Hyde Pierce who did the voice. But then there was a whole debate, and I think he took his name off it prior to release, or maybe for the DVD release.
Right.
Because he was like, although I did the voice, I'm kind of just doing the same as what Doug Jones did, and he did all the like lovely acting and everything.
That's fair enough.
And in the sequel, it is Doug Jones doing it instead. Yeah. So that's quite nice that he kind of let him take the forefront of it rather than...
wasn't there plans to do like another film centered on him and like his character?
Because there are, I haven't read any of the spin-offs and sequels and stuff like that, but there are Abe Sapien. There are Abe Sapien stuff. It's really funny, like his origin, which they kind of mention, the origin from his name. So they found him like Shape of Water style in like a tank, and it was back in like the 1800s, and there was a plaque that just said the date of Abraham Lincoln's death. So they were like, well, and it was something Sapien. They're like, well, Abraham is his first name then because of that. It's like,
I remember a lot of when Shape of Water came out. It's like, oh, this is that Abe Sapien film.
So I still haven't seen Shape of Water.
It's pretty good.
I think I was talking to someone about it recently. I would.
Yeah, because I think I watched it one of the years because it's nominated for Oscar, and it was like, oh yeah, a woman falls in love with a fish person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty.
But yeah, I got really into Hellboy for a couple of weeks as I'm tended to do, just get headfirst into something. I didn't get to watch the 2019 one because it's not on Netflix anymore. I did watch it on Netflix like a year or two ago, but I think I was like ill or something. Like I was like home from work, and I kind of like fever watched it and kind of, I think I fell asleep towards the end because I've
Yeah.
seen clips of like hellish boy, like
Yeah.
like creatures coming out in London and stuff, and I don't remember
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah, I remember one bit that always stuck out for me in that film is one bit where he's fighting one of these big monsters in a field, and like where the camera like changes, suddenly his like big fist arm is on the wrong arm for like 2 seconds.
Oh no.
And then the scene like cuts again and it's back on the right arm. And
Because
I
it's
was
supposed to be the red right hand of doom or whatever.
yeah, and then this one shot where his monster's coming at him, it's on like his left hand, and I was like, what's up with that? That's bad. Like, surely just mirror the image for like that bit. But
well, also of course they used the Nick Cave song in one of the Guillermo Del Toro Red Right Hand because you got it really, haven't
why
you?
not?
But yeah, no, I will get around to. I was planning on watching that before talking about them, so I could talk about all 3 films. But from what I remember, I had quite a fun time with that. I think it's a little bit more like, it's a little bit less X-Men-y and a little bit more like dark fantasy kind of thing. I think what's he called? David Harbour was pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty good. I think the film was just.
I think they're doing a new film. I think they finished filming it actually.
A sequel to the 2019.
No, without him, like a new one, and it's based on a specific story. I think The Crooked Man, which I feel like I've read a while ago. So it'll be like quite a horror base, like a small, because a lot of it is. It's like almost like an X-Files thing. Like he'll turn up to a situation, find out what's going on. And over the first omnibus thing, like there's little links to, Rasputin was pulling the strings and stuff, and it builds to it. But obviously in a big film, you can't really do that. So maybe a TV series would probably work better.
Like a crime thriller.
Yeah,
but with Hellboy.
And also, there's all these little short stories, which like Mike Mignola's like a big like folklore guy, and he used loads of stories from like Irish and English folklore and like made them little Hellboy adventures. So there's little ones that would have been single issues that are just spread throughout like chronologically. There's one of the best comics I've read for a very long time. It's really good. So whatever this new one is, and actually there's a game coming out sometime in the next couple of years, and I'm pretty sure that Lance Reddick is doing the voice of Hellboy.
Okay,
so one of his last roles, I imagine.
Yeah, fair enough.
You can kind of imagine, maybe not quite the gruff voice, maybe a little bit more like smooth talking, but yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
So that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's my lot. What have you been watching, reading, doing?
I've been watching a lot of stuff that like there's no much point talking about in detail. So like, it's coming to the end of the football season, so I've been watching a lot of football. Premier League season coming to an end, all the cups and stuff coming to an end.
All those cups.
Yeah, it's literally the next few weeks
Cups
it's
and
all going to be done. But me and Christine have been watching Friends again. It's pretty good. It's fine in parts. Some bits are a bit dated. We're on like season 9 now, so getting through it. And
is it 10 or 11 overall? 10. Oh wow.
Yeah. I remember once I was doing a pub quiz, and I think there's a team of like 6 of us. And one of the questions was like, how many seasons of Friends were there? And I was like, it's 10. There's 10 seasons of Friends. And people were like, oh, but it might be 11 or 12. Like, oh, I can't remember. Maybe it's not. And I was like, no, it's 10. And they're like, oh, but what's 11? And they're like, someone's like, oh, maybe it was 12. And they're like, should we put it as like 11? And I was like, no, it's 10.
I know, no one's listening to
it. I'm not, this isn't a maybe. Like, I know it's 10. So I was like, I'm putting 10. And it's 10.
Yeah. And were they like,
we won that pub quiz by 1 point as well. So it was 10. But yeah, it's fine. Like, there's some bits that are good. Some bits are a bit dated. Yeah. It is what it is. I've also been watching the US Office.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which Christina's never watched, and she's not convinced because she can't stand Michael Scott, particularly in like the earlier seasons where he's just an arsehole.
Yeah, especially that first one.
Like I actually skipped season 1 because I was like, it's not very good.
Yeah.
Started on season 2, but even then, it's like he's so inappropriate that it's just like
it's more of the kind of David Brent kind of side of it, isn't
that's
it?
just not kind of Christina's humor. But
no, did she like the original?
No, she's never seen it.
No, okay, no. I think it gets more kind of heartwarming and
I'm starting to get to that point because I'm near the end of like season 3.
Yeah,
and I've always really liked it.
I don't think I ever watched the last part of the last season. I definitely didn't see where they watched the documentary or whatever because I know it kind of they see it and there's a last episode or something.
Yeah, it's kind of peters out a bit. There's one big bit at the end where I think it's Dwight's wedding.
I think I saw that. Maybe
Michael comes back for that because obviously he's not there for the last
Yeah.
couple of seasons.
Dwight's. Maybe I didn't see that. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's quite an emotional scene because Dwight doesn't know he's going to be there. But yeah, the last two seasons kind of peter off a bit without Michael Scott. But it's
I watched
enjoyable.
all like they have various bosses for the last two seasons.
Yeah, and
Idris Elba's in
Idris
it for
Elba,
a bit.
Catherine Tate.
Catherine Tate, she's in it for quite a bit actually, isn't she? She's in for like a season, maybe a whole season.
What's his face? Ultron.
James Spader.
Spader. He's fun in it.
And there's the episode where they do all the interviews, and isn't David Brent's there in the lift or something? Yeah.
I think is there a project episode?
There is actually, yeah. So maybe when I
get to that,
we could.
I'll make notes on it,
or we could just do it straight from there.
Yeah, it probably won't be long.
I don't think there'll be any Office stuff announced anytime soon that we can tie into. No.
But yeah, the Office is good fun.
Yeah,
it's I what season 2 all the episodes are like 20 minutes. I got into season 3, they were suddenly 45 minutes, and I was like, I don't remember them being this long. And I was like, it was quite easy to put on a couple episodes before I go to bed.
Yeah, 23-minute episodes are solid. I think the project episode is around the Catherine Tate era, and it's when they go down to Florida and they do projects to try and he wants to become a new area manager, or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good fun. Jim and Pam are together at this point, so it's like
yeah.
It was earlier than I realised, but then at the same time, it is dragged out a bit for a while.
So you haven't seen Parks and Rec, have you?
I've seen bits of it, but
has Christina watched Parks and Rec?
No. So that was originally a spin-off of The Office.
Yeah.
Rashida Jones has turned up at this point as well.
It was after. Yeah, I think they were originally going to make her the same character, and then they were like, "Nah,
because it's the same writers."
Yeah, and Good Place as well. Same showrunner anyway.
Yeah,
Michael Shue, I think he's called.
Yeah, and I think Greg Daniels did the story for The Office and maybe Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
but the Good Place is good.
Yeah, I mean, if you either fall off that, say Christina doesn't like it, or if you finish it, Parks and Rec makes sense. Again, I would say potentially just skip the first season.
My thing with Parks and Rec is like for years before I watched it, I remember Reddit was like obsessed with Ron Swanson.
Yeah,
and you'd see like his quotes and his scenes posted all the time. And the whole time I was just like, this guy's a dick.
That's the thing.
I think like taking it out of context, and then it kind of put me off the characters when I did see it, and it was like, I just don't.
Especially,
don't like this.
It's a bit like the Michael Scott thing where initially. He's kind of likable in a funny way, but he's not like, he doesn't gel with the team. In it over time, he kind of softens up and he becomes a bit more, you find out a bit more about him and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we've spoken about Chris Pratt a fair bit recently because of the Guardians thing, and he is one of the standouts. That Aubrey Plaza as well, she's really good in it. And yeah.
But yeah, so I haven't really been watching much, but I am, I'm away on holiday later this week, so I'll probably get time to watch some odd bits. And
yeah, I mean, we spoke off pod about Star Wars Visions, not in any detail at all, but if you have some off time, they're like between like 5 and 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you get through some of them, even though I've watched, like I said, like 5 of them, so
yeah,
if you watch any of them, we can.
It's just a thing of like, I wanted to, watch them properly whilst I've been sticking on The Office in the background whilst I do other bits. But that's me for personal projects.
Cool. Yeah.
Have you got anything else?
Well, I might as well talk a little bit about it now. After we saw Guardians 3, I was like, oh, there's a Guardians game, and it's on the PS Plus.
Yes.
So I started playing it. I've only played about an hour and a half of it, so I was potentially going to save it until I got a bit more into it, but I'm gonna try and play Breath of the Wild so that I can get Tears of the Kingdom on my next paycheck. So I probably won't touch it, but it's really good. It reminds me of the Spider-Man game in that it's just like a really deep Marvel universe straight away. There's like nice versions of the characters that like a little bit different to what you'd expect.
Yeah.
Some of it is like voice cast wise, you're like, it kind of sounds like Dave Bautista, but someone else. So there's a bit to get through, but like, they seem to nail all of it, and like the first mission is just like, it's really good fun. Like Rocket's like, you play as Peter the whole time, and you can like command them to do like little moves and stuff. And there's a bit where him and Rocket having a little rivalry about who can destroy the most things. And then Rocket's like, let's make it a competition. And then like a scoreboard pops up in your like visor view. And he's like, it's not first person, but it's like, and he's like, how'd you do that? And he's like, oh, I always fix your tech. I put it in there just in case. And then it's like a little mini game while you're doing the mission.
Nice.
There's nice little things. And you get costumes for the different characters. And the only one I found is MCU Groot. So you can change him from how he looks in the game to a bit more like what you'd expect.
Okay.
So imagine there's costumes of all of them throughout and stuff. And yeah, it's a fun time. And it's, yeah, the closest thing I can think of is that first Insomniac Spider-Man game. And yeah, there's like comic references throughout. I think we're going to probably see like all the different various cosmic beings turn up because they haven't really got limitations on what they can use and stuff. And it's got a mixtape situation, all licensed songs, like 80s ones, so you can just choose what you're listening to while you're doing missions and while you're in the ship and stuff. So I think it really nails that. So if you're looking for some kind of Guardians feeling, it's like
I remember hearing that it was pretty good. I think I always got that mixed up with the Avengers game, which wasn't very good.
Yeah, I think they were published both by maybe Square Enix, maybe. So yeah, I think.
But the Guardians was actually pretty well received.
Yeah, it's a story focused thing, and it looks really good, and yeah, it's pretty fun to play. You can just like zoom around on your boots and shoot stuff, and it's pretty easy. You know, it's like that Spider-Man vibe. You just feel like you're the character, which is good. So
I think I played like 5 minutes of the Avengers game, like here.
Yeah, I think I was like play as Thor, and you were like, this doesn't make sense. Like, it was really tricky to like figure out how to play it, and like there's just numbers popping up. It's like World of Warcraft.
I can't be asked for this.
No. Yeah, they've stopped the service for that now. So I think you can. I think it's like unlocked all the cosmetics or something. It's like, okay, now I can have a weird party Thor outfit. Cool, like, great.
But yeah, cool. So I think that brings us to the end of the episode. So if you enjoyed it, like I hope you did, or even if you didn't, it doesn't really matter to you. Give us 5 stars. It won't make a difference whether you enjoyed it or not, but it makes a difference to us.
Yes.
So it's really helpful if you do it. So thank you if you have already, and thank you, future you, if you're about to do it now. Thank you. That person who's just done it now, thank you.
And you.
If you want to talk about Project Blue, Earth SOS, or any other project suggestions, you can get in touch with us.
Yes, you can. So if you want to send us an email, you can send it straight over to the projectpod@gmail.com. Or if you want to find our social media handles, you can find those in the link tree in the episode description. We post when new episodes are up. We post when clips are up. We post probably at other times too if something important happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally speaking, that's the best place to get hold of us. You can message us on those as well. We message with people all the time, don't we? So, you know, if you want to message with us, you can do it via there.
We are contactable.
We're contactable. It's a weird way of saying it.
It was a weird way of saying it.
But yeah, thank you very much for listening to this episode.
I will hear you next week.
And I'll see you on the Bog One Homeworld.
Bye.
Bye.